I just heard that our guy Brian Baldinger is joining us. Baldy, what's going on?
Hello, guys. We're in the countdown. We're in the countdown here, 8 days now before this draft. So I don't know. I don't know about you, but that's my world. That's all we're talking about right now.
Man, I completely agree with you. Outside of someone not showing up to Broncos offseason workouts, Courtland Sutton kind of shook up Broncos country this week by not showing up, saying he wants a new contract. Baldy, if you're the Broncos and you approach this, what type of player is Courtland Sutton and his value to this team? Is he someone that you're willing to trade away before the draft because they don't really need him? Or is he someone that you have to make sure is on this team with especially the lack of offensive weapons that this team has?
Well, I think you need him. If Jerry Jeudy gets traded away, you can't trade away your number one and number two receiver from a year ago. And they've been the number one and number two receivers for at least the last 2 years or 3 years. So, it'd be hard to – I know they signed, they drafted Marvin Mims last year and signed Josh Reynolds. But Courtland Sutton's just your big X receiver. He's got great leaping ability. He's been dependable. For the most part, he had some really good seasons early on when he first got there at SMU. Everybody wants a new contract. I don't know if you just capitulate to everybody, but I don't think trading Courtland Sutton because he's not at voluntary minicamp, I don't think is the answer right now.
So if you're the Broncos, how concerned are you about it? Is this something where you just say oh, he's not here, no big deal? We'll see if he's here during the mandatory practices, or do you reach out and make sure everything's all right?
Well, I think you have to be in communication. This is a business decision. And so he's willing to say, all right. We've seen, teams or players try to force teams' hand. We saw Kyler Murray a couple years ago before he got paid, said, I'm never going to play for the Cardinals, scrubbed the social media. That stuff kind of happens. Zach Martin said, he's not coming to camp until the Cowboys give him a new contract. Well, he's been a 5-time All-Pro player. A little easier for the Cowboys to say, okay, we will relent. We'll do something to the contract. I don't know, be honest with you, I don't know where you slot, Courtland right now. He's not a top 10 receiver in this league, but I don't know how you slot him. CD wants a new contract. We've seen a lot of receivers get paid recently, but we've also seen Puka Nacua come in the 5th round and light this league up. And I've seen that happen. I forget his name right now in New Orleans, but I should remember. Out of Hofstra, he came into the Saints and had more catches his first 2 years in the league as a 7th-round pick than anybody in the history of the game. So, if you're going to call Sean Payton's bluff, he's got success on his side saying, I'll go to the draft and get a guy. That's kind of the game you're playing if you're Courtland Sutton right now.
If you had to guess, Baldy, how long do you feel like this situation would take? We talked about it yesterday on the show. If the Chiefs can allow Chris Jones to wait it out and let it get into the season, how much time could they give to Courtland Sutton, and how long do you think it'll take before he's back on the team and back, working out?
I've heard a bunch of opening speeches from coaches to teams in the last couple of days since they started these mini camps in the off-season program, and they've almost all said this is involuntary. So thanks for being here. Meaning you don't have to be here. Courtland's been a veteran player. I guess what would hurt is just timing with Jarrett Stidham in the second year. If they draft a quarterback and they get busy and he's not there, it's not going to it's not going to help the development of any young quarterback, whoever that might be, if they do that. So I can't see anything. It's not I don't know, let's just say CeeDee Lamb isn't there with Dak Prescott. I can't see CeeDee Lamb's not being the number one receiver in every situation in Dallas because CeeDee's not there waiting for a new contract. These two have known each other for 3 years now. So, the situation could be a lot different here with the young Jarrett Stidham starting a few games last year and then maybe a rookie quarterback coming in.
All right, Baldy, back to the draft where, like you said, we've been living outside of this Courtland situation for months now. When it comes to Michael Penix Jr., we all are very high on Michael Penix Jr. I know so are you. There was a great question dropped in the Toyota chat about how much does a left-handed quarterback change things for an offense? From the offensive line, that's your expertise, to wide receivers, and then also to Sean Payton and the playbook and play calling. How much does that disrupt things, or maybe it's a good thing?
Oh, it's definitely different. It's definitely different. I mean, if you're looking at Garrett Bowles, he's now protecting the front side of Michael Penix, but Fatano did at Washington, and he's going to be a top 20 pick in this draft. I think it flips everything. You become more of a left-handed team than a right-handed team. I mean, but I don't think Sean Payton would struggle with that at all. What your strength is and how you design your passing routes and all that kind of stuff, your 3x1 sets and everything. I think that's pretty easily adjustable. But, the ball's going to come out different for all these receivers. But it didn't look like Roma Duze or Jalen Polk or Jalen McMillan. They had a right-handed quarterback before Michael got there, and they became, the most prolific deep passing offense in all of college football. So everybody adjusted just fine to him.
Yeah, I've got a few questions about the centers in this draft class because that's one of the needs the Broncos have. First of all, it seems like the consensus top center is Jackson Powers-Johnson out of Oregon, the one-year starter, wins the Remington in his only year there, has the NFL size and strength, all those sorts of things. Is he just kind of the open and shut case number one center in this class, or is there some conversation there?
No, there's conversation.
Okay.
There's certainly conversation with Graham Barton at Duke, who was a left tackle the last 2 years at Duke, but as a freshman, true freshman at Duke, he started the last 5 games at center. So they've seen him play center. And, and just knowing guys that know Graham better than I do, I've known him a little bit, and guys that are talking to him on a regular basis, teams are sort of asking him, they're sort of penciling him at a variety of positions, but I think his best position, I think he can be a Pro Bowl guard for sure because of the way he runs, his power, his run blocking ability, but he might be that type of player at center as well. Like Graham Barton's in that conversation. Zach Frazier, West Virginia. Yeah, I mean, you turn any game on and you watch West Virginia, you watch Zach Frazier. I mean, he's a state wrestling champ. You watch him the last 3 years at West Virginia. He's going to be probably the top of the second round, but he might be a late first round pick too. I mean, he's in that category. And then, Cedric Van Pran at Georgia has been a 3-year starter there. His arm's a little too short for me. But you could go, as far down as Hunter Nerzad at Penn State, and you watch Hunter play, and he looks like he could be a third-round pick. And, like a Tyler Biotic, who came out of, Wisconsin, I think, in the third round, became the starting center for the Cowboys the last 4 years. I mean, you can see this is a good draft for centers. You might not get Graham, at the very top, but I think – from Zach Frazier on, I think there's 3 or 4 guys that can compete for a starting position at center.
So if you go into the draft as the Broncos with the plan being, maybe it's quarterback at 12 and then their second pick is pick 76 in the third round, can you plan on getting the quarterback first and then a center in the third round? A starting center, somebody who can beat out Sam Mustipher?
Yeah, I think Sam can be beat out. I mean, he has played center. He's played guard in Chicago. But that's a position they have to upgrade right now. I thought they needed to upgrade it even with Lloyd there last year. I think it needed to be upgraded. So I don't know if Ben Powers can play center. I know, he's the left guard and all that, but sometimes you look at a guard. And, for example, last year, the Rams drafted Steve Avila in the second round at a TCU. Played every snap at left guard for the Rams and upgraded the offense line. Well, they lost their center. They're putting Avila in at center now, and they're replacing him with the guard. I think it's easier to replace a guard than it is a center. Philadelphia is taking Cam Jurgens, who played guard last year, putting him at center right now for Kelsey. So I would look at either one of those guys, whether it's Quinn or Ben, to see if they have the ability to play center, if they can't draft one right now.
He kind of stole my question, but we talked about, of course, center with the third pick, but the Broncos also have some other needs, tight end, cornerback, kind of inside linebacker. Do you think that center would be the best position to pick in the third round, or do you feel like you could maybe find a better position there and get a center in the fifth? What do you think would be best for the Broncos?
I'd like to get my offense line fixed, and I think you're only as strong as your center at offensive line, if your center is weak or not elite, then your offensive line just isn't going to be there. So I like to get my offensive line fixed. And if the draft can help me do it, like I think you'll see the Cowboys draft a center. I think you'll see the Steelers draft a center. And they're going to try to complete their offensive lines. I'd like to see Denver do that. Maybe it's their third-round pick. Maybe they've got, a bunch of fifth-round picks. Maybe you trade up. You got a bunch of sixth-round picks. Maybe you trade up to get a guy, in that second round. You trade up to go get your guy. I like to get my offensive line fixed with 5 and then address the depth as you go along.
As Todd said, tight end is one of the positions the Broncos need. And Brock Bowers, a guy that might be there at 12, is he worth it? Because a lot of people don't put a lot of stock in that tight end position. Would he be is he good enough to take it at 12?
He is, if you really build your offense around him. I mean, if you just draft him and he's just your third option, George Kittle isn't an elite option in San Francisco. In fact, there's some weeks he's kind of invisible.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard sometimes, but that's because they're really good and talented on the outside and the running back is elite. So he isn't the number one option, but they find him enough where he can go catch 11 touchdown catches. The guys like TJ Hawkinson was not used very well in Detroit. Gets traded away, and he looks like he's an elite option in Minnesota right now. Now we'll find out with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison all healthy, and we'll see what that looks like. But I think Brock Bowers can be just the way Mark Andrews is, just the way Kelsey is. I think he can be your number one option, especially you look at the receivers that they currently have in Denver right now. And then it's a question of, I know that Brock Bowers would be a huge red zone option in Denver, and that would be enticing to Sean Payton for sure, to finish drives in the end zone with points. After the catch, route running, he's a very good blocker. He's much more than just a flex tight end for sure. He can play tight end. He's definitely an option if he gets past, the Jets at 10. I mean, I think he's going to be there, in that position, because I don't think the Vikings at 11, if they stay there, are going to take a tight end with TJ there. So, he's sitting there probably for Denver, and I don't think the Jets are going to take him. They got a deep tight end room right now. They got 4 guys that they like. So I think he's going to be there at 12. It's a question of how the Broncos value that position right now.
Do you think Sean Payton would be tempted by that? Because we've seen him kind of build offenses. You think back to, Alvin Kamara. Some weeks he's kind of the game plan. You build off of him. Sometimes it's building off of Michael Thomas. He seems like he kind of builds his offense in that way, so each week you don't necessarily know who that guy is. So to me, it feels like it could be a good fit, have Brock Bowers kind of in that rotation. Do you see that the same way?
Yeah. I think Sean is I don't think you can pigeonhole Sean's offense. I mean, I know he had Drew Brees for a long time, and that made things real pliable, but I'm with you. I've seen him have great success with free agent running backs that, were great screen catchers. He went to a Super Bowl with one of those guys. So I can see Sean certainly, adjusting his offense and creating offense around his star players, and that's what Brock Bowers is going to be at tight end right now.
Yeah, and Baldy, you're our star player. We really appreciate you joining us today. But before we let you go, I got to get a breakdown of Baldy's adventures. What do you have coming up this weekend? Anything before the draft?
It's kind of like Draft Central right now. Yeah. I could jump down to the Bahamas, and a buddy of mine who's got his boat down there spearfishing. But I feel like spearfishing lionfish right now versus studying 6th-round offensive linemen, I think I'm for the film room this weekend.
Man, that's how you know you're the ultimate grinder, when you skip the Bahamas to be looking at 6th-round offensive linemen. That's why we love having you on. Thanks so much for the insight, Baldy.
Yeah, you bet, guys. I'll talk to you next week, man. Enjoy it. Enjoy the weekend.
That sounds great, man. Unfortunately, guys, I think I would be jumping down the Bahamas this weekend instead of studying the Broncos' future 6th-round potential offensive lineman. Sorry
without
about
a doubt.
that.
No, without a doubt.